Good evening. I'm Scott Saunier, Chief Administrative Officer for Iberia Parish Government, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Slyman Theater for the 2018 Annual State of the Parish Address. Tonight's format will be an informal interview-style program, with a moderator asking questions and the parish president responding to those questions. We have some visual information that will hopefully add to the responses, but due to the format, we may not have visuals for all topics. So please listen carefully to the moderator and the parish president's responses. I would ask that everyone silence their phones. Thank you, Cindy. We are hoping that tonight will not only provide a view into the workings of the parish, but will also be educational in regards to decisions that are made and to the process of government. So without further ado, let me introduce our first guest. Tonight's moderator is no stranger to Iberia Parish. He is always on the lookout for avenues in which we can grow economically. Is a lifelong resident of our great parish and is currently the executive director of the Iberia Development Foundation. Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Mike Tarantino. Again, we are here this evening to communicate the current state of and future plans being executed for the betterment of Iberia Parish. As in the past, this event is being held just before budget sessions begin for the Iberia Parish government. As we enter the 2019 budget session, or season, the focus is once again to balance the budget, but also look for ways to improve both our services and efficiencies based on available funding. We have much to be thankful for in this parish. We have a great culture and heritage, better food than anywhere else in the world, and we are rich in resources, both natural and in human capital. It is important that we understand that the times of us looking to Baton Rouge and Washington, D.C. for the funding of everything we need are probably a thing of the past. While we still get support, it would seem that we need to recognize that some of our problems will have to be dealt with on a local level. It is time for a paradigm shift in a way we look not only at our issues, but in the way we seek solutions. We need to continuously change with our changing world. We must support the industries that supported our growth in the past, but we must also find ways to diversify for long-term development. Our parish president has repeatedly stated that in order to accomplish the economic stability we all know is possible, we must work as a team. Within government and non-governmental organizations, partnering with current and potential businesses, with developers and citizens. If we work together and put forth the effort to plan for the future development of this parish, if we find solutions to our problems, if we just decide that we want to improve our lives, we can accomplish anything. The last couple of years have been interesting. And as I get to work with Larry, I also get to hear his philosophy quite a bit. And I'll close with a recap of some of his statements over that time. Iberia Parish government must be run like a business, with taxpayers getting a solid return on their investment. It is his responsibility to provide our parish with proactive leadership that will result in decision-making processes which are in the best interest of the constituency, the people who have invested their trust, taxpayers who have invested their money, and industry looking to invest in our infrastructure. He and the parish council work diligently to drive parish business forward. From spending freezes, staff reductions, to alternate investment strategies for much-needed equipment upgrades, we have and continue to find ways to run the business and balance the budget, even in tough economic times. Although we have defunded 16 positions, we are also replacing key staff positions when needed with candidates who are not only qualified, but who come with the needed energy and motivation to help breathe new life into our system. Having defunded so many positions, the workload has been dispersed amongst the remaining team members. We are asking more of our employees. I would ask that each of you, when the chance presents itself, to say thank you to the employees of Iberia Parish, because I can assure you that there are over 300 people working day in and day out to improve the quality of life for every one of us who calls Iberia Parish home. The administration is engaged with current business partners and prepared for the opportunity to usher in change, all in an effort to support economic growth and stability, as well as improvement of the quality of life in Iberia Parish. Now I want to introduce a man that has promised to address several issues when he ran for office: drainage, roads, and economic development. I am hopeful that after this evening's event, you will once again walk away with the confidence that he is addressing those issues and moving our parish forward. Please give a warm welcome to your parish president, M. Larry Richard.
Is this thing on? Everybody hear me back there? Okay. Good evening, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike Tarantino, as Scott mentioned, and I'm so happy to be here to talk with Mr. Larry Richard today about the state of the parish for 2018. Larry and I go back a long ways, and along with the parish council, many members of which are here tonight, I certainly appreciate you joining us. Larry, as we open, many people may not know that Iberia Parish is celebrating its 150-year anniversary. The parish that we love is getting a little old, but we're certainly rooted in the past, but looking forward to the future. As we open, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yes, but if you don't mind, Mike, what I would like to do at this time is recognize all of the elected officials, any VIPs, our staff, and department heads. If you can stand and be recognized, I would really appreciate it, even though I can't see you with the light right here. Thank you so very much. Okay, Mike, we're celebrating our 150th year in Iberia Parish, and we have great culture here in Iberia Parish, and we're proud of it. We believe we have great things such as our food. We have great food. We have great seafood. We have unbelievable festivals. The Sugarcane Festival, the Gumbo Festival, the Delcombe Shrimp Festival, which is actually starting tomorrow. Bunk Johnson Festival, we have the Laos New Year's Festival, and many, many more. Iberia Parish is a good place to be. We have great museums. We have Bayou Teche Museum, the Generette Museum, the Shadows on the Teche Museum, Tabasco Factory Museum, to name a few. We have a lot of good things going on in Iberia Parish, and as far as the 150th celebration, we started it this year at Tabasco. We had the Lieutenant Governor there, and we kicked it off very, very well, and we have a lot more to do. In fact, we'll be doing some things starting up in October, and I look forward to the remaining of the year celebrating our 150th.
Well, that's great to hear, absolutely, and a lot of history to celebrate, and also a lot of future to celebrate and progression to celebrate as we move forward. So we'll just jump right in and talk a bit about the parish's finances. Citizens all across our parish, hardworking taxpayers, especially in economic times like these, are very keen on knowing exactly how their taxpayer dollars are being spent, how their finances are being managed. It's very important that the parish president and his administration are good stewards of those dollars. Can you tell us a little bit about the state of the parish's finances and where you see things going forward?
Yes, since we took office in 2016, it's been a steady decline. We understand that. When we got here, the very first thing we did, Mike, is the day after we swore in, we had a parish council meeting and we froze the budget. We understand that. And we know where we're at, we know where we started, we know where we're going. From 2014 to 2017, in the royalty fund, we're down some 83%. We're down, I think, from maybe $3.4 million to around $1 million. When you look at the sales taxes, we're down in sales taxes as well. When you look at the TIF dollars, we're down in TIF dollars.
So when you break all those down, I know that on the previous slide, we were talking about the general finances of the parish and the general direction in which those are going. And so as we break those down, we look at royalty, things like the royalty revenues, sales tax revenues, the general fund. Right now we're looking at a slide about royalty revenues. As we talk about the ups and downs of those things, maybe you could also let the constituents know what makes up those royalty revenues. What exactly are royalty revenues?
Okay, royalty revenues are money that we receive from oil and gas industry. Typically, for the most part, the bigger dollars come from the royalties that's being produced in your parish. We do get monies from the state, but it's not going to be as much. Right now, we have a lot of people confused because they're hearing that the oil price has gone from $25 to $70, so they're expecting royalty collections to be much more. In fact, we got our royalty check for the quarter a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's actually down. But we understand that, and it's going to pick up. We're looking for it to pick up at some point in time. But you know, Mike, once you start to run a business like this, and you're running a business with the money that we have, We understand it. You know, we budget for it. This year we budget for a 10% decline. We're not at 10%. So in my mind, we're doing well. And eventually it's going to start to get better. Sales tax that we have, we actually seen a snippet of an increase a couple of weeks ago. So I'm actually starting to feel pretty good about that. We are way down. So when you're looking at the slide right there, it's telling you what's going on. But at the end of the day, we know where we're at. We know what we have to do. It's difficult. We have to manage and pay attention to our funds daily.
What about sales tax?
Well, sales tax is down as well. We're down in the sales tax from 2008 from $3,100,000 to $2.2 million. So we're down some 27% up in that. But at the end of the day, we budget again to not collect these particular dollars. We have a very good council. We have a very good staff. The council, I can't say enough about the council, you know. A lot of people talk to me sometimes, they say, well, this council person don't like you. It's not about like and not like. It's about representing the people that you're elected to represent. So none of this is about like and not liking someone. It's about taking care of business. This is a business. This is parish government, don't get me wrong, but I consider it to be a business, and we run it as close as we possibly can to a business. But yes, the sales tax dollars are down.
A lot of moving parts, a lot of departments, things like that. What about TIF and general fund?
Well, the TIF actually started back in 2011, so we didn't really start receiving a full year worth of TIF until 2012, and our TIF dollars are down. Our TIF district starts on Highway 90 from St. Martin Parish, and it goes down Highway 90 all the way to St. Mary Parish. Most of the companies that we have, and it's just companies that you actually have in a TIF. So when you're coming down Highway 90, you basically have about 700 feet on the side of or outside of the service road that's actually going to be in the TIF, except when you're getting to the airport. The airport, we carved that area out as a TIF district. The same thing with the Port of Iberia, we carved that particular area out. And yes, we are down. We're down some 37% in TIF. But you know, Mike, again, that's how we forecasting. The first year was the tough year. The first year when we came in here in the general fund, it was tough. I mean,
There's a general fund right there.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the general fund now. Okay, well, the general fund is another one that's down. If you take a look at 2008 to where we are today, we're down. But in 2013, if you look at 2013 and see where the dollars were in 2013 and 14 to where we're at right now, it is very, very tough. I could get into talking about restricted funds and unrestricted funds, but I'm not exactly sure if the people in the audience are going to know what we're talking about when we say that. And when we're talking about all these different funds, the royalty fund and the general fund are the only two funds that you really can use as discretionary funds to use to help you out. The TIF fund can only be used in TIF area. And when you have general funds like $1 million, it's not really doing a whole lot for you when you have to take care of things like the jail and everything else that you have to take care of.
So what I hear saying is that even though, you know, we've got ups and mostly downs as of late on all these three income funds, revenue generating funds, the expenses you've been keeping a close eye on expenses and making sure that it runs like a business.
That's exactly what I do. You know, we have 35 different fund balances that we deal with in Iberia Parish government. That's 35 different bank accounts. We're running over 20 businesses a day. And we have 3 accounts or 2 accounts that people talk about all the time. And that's the royalty fund and the general fund. And yes, those 2 are down, but we have a business to run. And as long as we're running this particular business and we're not having to shut anything down and we're continuing to give the people of Iberia Parish the service that they want, we're going to keep doing it this way.
Absolutely. Anything else on the finance front?
Finances, listen, I wish it was better. I wish we were collecting more. Some of our fund balances are very good. In fact, you're going to hear the Parish Council and myself talk about that at a later date because we're looking at doing some things with some of the fund balances we have in certain areas to try to help out in other areas. But we're going to be just fine. We just have to pay attention to the business and make sure you run it like a business, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely. So staying on the point of taxpayers and the citizenry, in addition to making sure that their finances are being properly managed and that we're working our way, properly through the funds and the times that we currently have, I don't think that there's much. I don't think it's any closer when the parish government meets the citizenry than with public works. People expect good financial management, but they also expect the services that they pay for to be done quickly and efficiently across the board. So Public Works, the Iberia Parish Public Works Department is multifaceted with a lot of different moving parts. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Public Works and where you see that going.
And we're operating Public Works with less people than we did in the past as well, so let's keep that in mind. Public Works is all about planning. I mean, in Public Works, we're talking about drainage. We have over 800 miles of drainage, over 400 miles of roads. But we have slash busters, we have grass cutting, we have roadside ditch cleaning, we have lateral ditch cleaning, we have main channel cleaning, we have spraying, we have road maintenance. Mike, the list just keep going on. We have sign installation and sign maintenance and manufacturing of signs. We have solid waste landfills. We have, the list just goes on and on when you talk about Public Works. But at the end of the day, we take care of business very well. Earlier, I mentioned the mileage that we actually have when you're talking about drainage. So far, in the last 6 months alone, we have, just with the slash buster, in the last 6 months alone, we have cleared over 63,000 feet of brush and trees. What that means, Mike, is when we go to clean a channel, some of these channels haven't been cleaned in so long, you have 30 and 40 feet of brush in the front of the channel.
Let me just say real quick, for those of you who don't, and I don't want to go into an equipment discussion, but we're talking about some terms here that people may not know. The slash buster, big piece of machinery, blades on the end. I think you can see a picture of it perhaps in the, maybe in the upper left-hand corner. Is that what we're looking at here?
A slash buster is a machine that we have that actually, if you have big trees, it'll go on top of the trees and cut the trees down and grind it down. Same thing with all of the brush. But I guess what I was getting at is what a lot of people don't understand. They may call and they want a channel to be clean. Well, before you can get to the channel, you have to clean the brush. And when you're talking about using a slash buster, and you're talking about doing 12 miles of work in 6 months, these guys are not playing. They're not playing at all. And then once you finish doing the slash busting work, then you get your excavator out there and you started doing the work with the excavator. We have cleared more than 22 miles of laterals and main channels. We have channels. I think a guy was at a parish council meeting the other day, and he was talking about a channel that we cleaned in this area, and he said it hadn't been cleaned in 51 years, since it's been actually dug, or whatever the case is. But we have to address these things because we're trying to get the drainage in Iberia Parish to work and work at its best. As far as roadside ditches, we have done over 36 miles of roadside ditches. That's a lot of work, but our drainage is getting to be so much better. And what we want to do is we want to get the drainage to be the best that it possibly can be. And that's where we're heading right now. We're doing a good job at it and hope we continue to do it. And that's all I can say about. Oh, so you want me to keep talking now? Listen, Public Works is real deep. I mean, you have people that you have solid waste. We have a landfill that we maintain every day, and it's very, very broad, Mike.
Well, as we talk about drainage, drainage is so very important, especially in light of some of the things that have happened in recent years in our parish. You talked about was it 800 miles of
Yes.
Of drainage work that needs to be done. Tell me a little bit about how you prioritize those drainage projects. A lot of people don't know, but the entire Vermilion watershed for the entire region comes this way, right, and it drains through our parish. How do you prioritize how that water is accepted and drained? How do you do that?
It was a learning curve. I can promise you that. I work very close with drainage, very close with the Public Works director and his staff in drainage, and we meet constantly. We meet every day. We're talking. But one thing that's helping us is I work very close with the parish presidents in the other parishes as well. And I'll use this as an example. You're talking St. Martin Parish. St. Martin Parish have about $22 million in their drainage fund. Lafayette Parish have about 32, I think it was 32, 34, somewhere close to that particular number. We have about $1 million. So we have to be very, very smart with what we're doing these days. So I get with the parish presidents and find out where they're planning on cleaning and make sure that we can accept the water that we actually have, first of all. Because once the water get here, it's not like it's going to say, I'm in Iberia Parish, I better stop now. It's coming. So we have to be able to accept that particular water. But at the same time, we have people in Iberia Parish that floods. So we have to work very close with the people in those areas that flood. We're putting flap gates in areas. We got one area around the Delcom area where this guy had been flooding. I can't tell you how long he's been flooding. I was a councilman 12 years prior, and he was flooding the whole time I was there. And Marty Trahorn is the councilman now, and he's been flooding the whole time Marty was there. And we just took care of this gentleman, I'm going to say maybe 4, 5, 6 months ago, by using flap gates. And we're going to do the exact same thing in areas that we have, like on Commercial Canal, People's Coulee, and I can just list and talk, Mike, about this for a long time. I don't know how long you want to talk about it, but it's about working together with the different parishes or parish presidents and try to understand what's going on there. And you're correct. The Vermilion watershed is a big deal. We, by working together, the governor gave us $25 million. And the $25 million that he gave us as the parish presidents, we typically have a 7-parish region. But since we're dealing with the Vermilion watershed, we have an 8-parish president and an 8-parish region that we're dealing with, because we're trying to find ways to identify the areas that need to be addressed first. And most people, when they were talking about it, they was like, well, all of the money is going to go to Lafayette because this or whatever the case is going to be politics. Well, it didn't work like that. Out of the $25 million, Iberia Parish got $5.3 million for Park Purdue. Lafayette Parish got $5 million for Upper Park Purdue. You know, so we working together. We also have gauges that we're putting out throughout the Vermilion watershed, and we have some 200 gauges that we're putting out there now. I think currently we may have 15 gauges. So we're trying to understand how to judge water and how to read water, and understand when if a hurricane is actually coming and we're looking at this gauge, and we know that this gauge should be around 2.7 feet, I'm just picking a number, and we know that we have some water that's going to come in this particular area, and we know at 2.7 you're going to start to flood, and right now you're at 2.5, we got a problem.
So to prioritize those drainage projects, it's been vetted by engineers and other
Absolutely.
experts that are telling you that, you know, this is where the watershed is, this is where the main channels are, this is the, you mentioned Lafayette Parish, this Upper Park Purdue, this is where the water is coming from the Youngsville area, this is where it needs to drain, that kind of thing. We talked a little bit about funding and about the $5.3 million that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you know, those dollars require some matching, some local matching and that kind of thing. But it sounds like there's a good bit of drainage priority and a good bit of funding that's been identified to get that done. Is that true?
Yes, but the matching for the 5.3 I'm very concerned about, to be honest with you, because right now, last year the Parish Council awarded some money for me to go out and get an engineering analysis done on several major channels that we have, main channels in Iberia Parish, and we got that information back. In fact, I'm going to be getting with the Parish Council very soon to try to get them to allocate some money for, you know, to clean those particular channels. However, it's almost a catch-22 now, and the reason I'm kind of slowing down a little bit is because if we get the money to clean those channels, I won't have the money to match the 5.3. I'm going to need about $1.4 million, I think, somewhere close to that particular number for the 5.3 match. And the way I'm looking at doing it is slowing down, if I can, what we're doing this year. In other words, wait till closer to the end of the year to start going out for bids for what we want to do this year, so that money for next year will start to receive it, and then I can use that money to do my match for the 5.3. But we need that.
Good, solid progress, moving forward in the right
Absolutely.
direction to get those channels cleared. There's a plan to back that up, so when people start to see dirt fly, they know there's a good plan behind it. And, you know, of course, being good stewards of the finances to make sure that everything is in line and we can continue to move things forward as we go through. Now, we could certainly keep going with drainage. I know drainage is a big priority of yours.
Drainage probably till tomorrow.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. But as we move forward with public works, you know, we've heard through media over the years about the state of the parish's bridge system.
Yeah.
You know, infrastructure, and we'll continue to talk about that as we go. So very important to the things that happen in the parish. Could you tell us a little bit about the status of the parish's bridges, where we've been, where we're going?
Well, as you already know, when we came in, this administration and council, we had a lot of bridges that needed to be addressed, and we addressed them. I think we may have 3 bridges that's not completed from maybe, I think it was maybe 12 bridges that needed to be done at that time. However, since we've been here, we had to add additional bridges that needed to be worked upon, and we completed those as well. We have about 64 bridges in Iberia Parish for the off-system bridge system that we deal with the Department of Transportation. And the way it works and the way we prioritize what's the bridges that need to be done, Mike, is every year Public Works go out and they inspect, say, 30 bridges. And the Department of Transportation is going to inspect the remaining bridges. Now, it's really two different types of inspections. Public Works is going out. It's much more than a visual, but to keep it simple, I'm going to just call it a visual and looking at things, looking and paying attention to load ratings and things of that nature. When the Department of Transportation go out, they're doing more of an engineering type analysis, checking to make sure the pollens are like this here and the spans or whatever the case is. And the goal behind that is to try to perform maintenance. If you can actually find something before it's really messed up, you want to take care of the maintenance. But what happened to us, we got caught up where we didn't perform maintenance for a while, so we had a lot of bridges that needed to be addressed. And so that's how you prioritize what's going on. If you go out and you inspect the bridge today and you see that you have 2 pollens need to be addressed, you try to figure out how to get that money aside to address those pollens and things of that nature.
But a good, solid program. It was vetted by engineers, prioritized. Those bridges that needed to be done due to the structural integrity were the ones that were repaired first.
Right.
A good process. Funds were identified
yeah, funds are identified.
Yeah,
and what we do is we make sure that we stay in line with the funds that we budget for the year. That means sometimes when they get close to the end of the year, you have to slow back, cut back a little bit on what you're doing, because we don't have a lot of money. And I'm talking about roads and bridges per se. Well, you didn't really mention roads, but I guess, can I go into roads?
That's next.
Okay, good. But talking about roads and bridges in Iberia Parish, we don't have dedicated funds for roads. We have over $30 million worth of roads, Mike.
Well, I was just going to say that, out of all of the public works, the thing that I think people see the most and deal with the most is the state of the parish's roads. Roads are very important for commerce, they're very important for quality of life, they're very important for safety, and they're very important for my alignment. And so I just think it's very important across the board that we have continue to have a great road program. So I was going to jump right into roads. So
well, great. Well, roads is very important the infrastructure is important for the development and the growth of the parish. And we're planning for growth in Iberia Parish. But in order to get to that growth, we have to take care of the infrastructure that we have and in some cases don't have. But I can tell you right now, when you're talking about roads, the Parish Council passed a resolution allowing me to go out and do an analysis with an engineering company out of Baton Rouge. And the reason it was a company out of Baton Rouge is because the Parish Council wanted to make sure no politics was being involved. So we went and we got a company from out of this particular area, and the company came in and did analysis on every road in the parish and provided a priority list. So we have a priority 1 list, a priority 2 list, and a priority 3 list. But in that particular study, what was done is it also came back to show that we need $2.4 million to just perform maintenance in Iberia Parish, and we certainly don't have that. Not only we don't have the money to do the overlaying, we have about $352,000, I think, a year to do maintenance on roads. We need 2.4. We need about $30 million worth of roads to be overlaid, and we're having some problems with that, Mike. But we're addressing that right now, and we're looking forward to getting with the people of Iberia Parish. In fact, I'm one that plan everything I do. So I'm not going to be talking about something right now that we're planning on doing because I want to make sure I have all of my ducks in a row before I actually get out and tell them. But they can expect something from me this week, no later than next week as far as roads are concerned.
Right. Well, the theme that we continue to hear through all of the pieces of individual parts of public works that we talked about was the importance of planning. Prioritizing and funding drainage, properly prioritizing and funding bridges. The fact that the parish road maintenance and overlay list has been vetted by a professional engineer.
Yes.
Who looked at it strictly from the status of the roads and not necessarily where those roads are.
Right.
Planning for the future, continuing to maintain our system, I think is very good. And I hear you talk a lot about planning, and we'll talk a little bit more as we move forward. But back to Public Works for just a second. There's obviously so many moving parts to what Public Works does, and I know that we've just scratch the surface on all the
You're
things
right.
that we didn't talk about, sandbagging and all the things
Exactly.
that happened during that time, and all of those things. But I've also heard reports recently about your vision and your plan to bring all of the public works assets, all the equipment, all the people together into a proposed public works facility. Could you tell us a little bit about that facility and the plans for it?
Yes, you're talking about the new public works facility, the old Dutch Gosnell building that we were able to purchase at a very good price. I think we purchased it for around $410,000, Mike. 7 acres of land. We're on roughly 19 feet elevation. Currently, the public works facility that we have right now, we're in a flood zone, and we're paying serious money every year, flood insurance. But the big problem is whenever we have any type of emergency, we'd really need to know a few days in advance because we have to start moving all of this equipment somewhere within the parish. Whether it's going to be at the airport or whether it's going to be a spot that we have a headland somewhere where we know it's kind of high, we have to move all of the equipment over there to try to get ready. And being that it's so far out to the corner of our parish, we spend a lot of money with fuel costs and things of that nature. Well, the building where we're at right now, and I am proud to say that we're still on track. Look like everything is going to work to where we should be in that building around February or March. And we had the last meeting last month, and last week. And I have one more thing I need to get with the engineer or the architect, so I can get with the council and tell them my recommendations, and so we can get this together to move. But the one good thing about that facility, Mike, it's the way we're designing that facility. We're designing that facility for the future. We have to have a place in Iberia Parish when developers come here, contractors come here, and they're coming, where they can actually go and they can sit down in a room and bring more than 3 people. And so the way we're trying to design this thing is where when something like that is going on, we're going to have our public works department, we'll have our sewer department, we'll have our planning and zoning department, and whomever it is there to work with us to try to make things better for the parish. So we definitely put a lot of thought into that particular facility. That facility, just so you know, have 14 bays, which means we can park, for the most part, we can park almost everything Iberia Parish own inside that facility. It's roughly, I think it was 36 to 40,000 on the roof. And then you have another building next to it where we're going to have, it used to be a paint shop, but we're going to make that our sign shop and our area where when people are going to be coming to get sandbags, instead of standing in the rain trying to fill sandbags, we can fill them and they can drive through, and we'll just have someone put it in their vehicle at that location. Of course, it's not going to be like that at every location, but at that particular location, that's the way we're going to operate that one.
A real, as they say, one-stop shop for developers, contractors, and even citizens to interact with public works, and just a great place to keep the parish's equipment protected and safe, and to give people a convenient place to be. That's wonderful. And as we talk about public works, and as we talk about we're coming up on about 30 minutes into our allotted hour, so we've still got a little bit of time. So we can certainly spend more time on some of these items if you'd like. Okay. But we're going to be moving unless you have more that you'd like to stay on public works, we're going to move on to the next topic.
We can move on because we have a lot that I would like to talk about.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're going to move on to something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is planning for the future as it pertains to economic development. So economic development in our parish, economic development is what helps us as a community set up the atmosphere for businesses to come and locate and create job opportunities for our citizens. There are many partners that Iberia Parish government works with that are all working to grow our community from a business perspective and to increase our residential developments as well. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your partnership with some of these entities.
Well, right now, for example, when we talk about rooftops, right now in the K10 area, we have the Ridge, where there's a spec home being built right now, and that hopefully that's going to be completed in the very, very near future. Very nice spec home, shall I say. And the contractor is planning on building, I think, 6 more right in that particular area, and then the actual subdivision is going to be for roughly 250 to 300 homes. So and these affordable homes, very, very nice homes at affordable prices. We also have Test Ridge. that's starting to move some homes right there. And in fact, I was with one of the realtors a week ago, and they just sold one of the houses that they were planning on selling.
I'm sure that had to do with your Facebook commercial you did, right? So good
Maybe,
job. Get a commission on
I did that Facebook commercial and never seen it.
It came out good. I'll give you
I did?
the thumbs
Okay,
up.
well, I never seen it. But at any rate, we definitely trying to get rooftops in Iberia Parish. We also have a lot going on, Mike. I mean, at the Port of Iberia, for example, of course, the port is doing good things. You know, right now, we have a big project that's taking place at Bayou Pipe Coating. Bayou Pipe Coating, on a daily basis, have over 350 employees right there. They just hired an additional 60 new employees. You have Louisiana Cat. We ran a gas line over there. They had some 68 new employees. You got a Greco, and I'm going to just bounce all over the place since we're just talking, who just hired 30-plus employees. But what's so important about a Greco is they're planning on bringing multitude of employees here from different areas with the business that they're having. So they're looking at Iberia Parish as being a major hub, which is already a major hub, but even a much larger major hub for them. You have the Port of Delcom. The Port of Delcom is doing things that most people, they just may or may not understand, but that direct seafood connect deal that we got going on over there is huge.
You know, it's interesting that, speaking of the Port of Delcom, they do their seafood and farmers market each month, and according to Wendell Verrett, with the last market, it actually, for a few short hours, doubled the size of the town.
Yeah.
It actually doubled the population. So, you know, you talk about services, right? Go ahead.
You know, and we can talk about that. You know, so I go to the port. Of course, I used to be a councilman in that area, and I know a lot of people back there in the Delcom area, and they're loving it. Not only they loving it, I'm loving it too. In fact, Cindy always going there and getting shrimp for, you know, and she picks them up and she'll call me at night. Cindy's my assistant, and invite me to go eat shrimp every now and then with her and her husband. Iberia Medical Center. Iberia Medical Center invests millions of dollars. You know, we just purchased Dotrieve, and they're purchasing new equipment, and they're doing a lot of good things over there. The K10 Regional Airport. We got the terminal that's going on at the K10 Regional Airport. And that's a huge deal, and I know you probably want to talk about that more than me because It's such a big, but go ahead.
No, absolutely. The K10 Regional Airport is just doing so well. There's a lot of great things happening out there. I was honored to serve in a certain capacity. I know you're going to talk about Ms. Megan McClellan, our brand new airport director out there. She's doing a great job, and we're so, of course, glad to have her. But the Acadiana Regional Airport is just a wonderful asset, and I know the parish government has been working very closely on some connectivity, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So keep going.
Yeah, well, you know, that's a good thing for us at the airport. You know, the goal and the long-term goal is to make it a cargo international facility. That is the goal, and so we have identified who we are, and I think we have come to a point where we're not trying to compete and be someone that we're not right now anyway. So we're doing good things there. SLCC is another jewel that we have in Iberia Parish. I don't think a lot of people understand the opportunities that they have at SLCC, not only for people that's trying to go to college, but for businesses as well. In fact, I just had a meeting with representatives from SLCC along with the director at the port, Craig, and we were talking about trying to come up with different type of job skills or sets that these particular companies need. And then we can actually go with SLCC.
Not only for the traditional industries that we have, whether it be agriculture, oil and gas, even aviation, but those occupations that will help us diversify our economy. You mentioned the hospital and the potential of healthcare, of course, the aviation at the airport, and those kind of things as well. And the South Louisiana Community College can certainly help with the training of all of those types of skills.
Right, exactly. And Mike, you know, when you're talking about agriculture, I tell people all the time, the number one tax revenue in Iberia Parish, of course, is oil and gas. But the most consistent revenue provider that we have as far as tax collection is agriculture. And they provide a lot of money. I mean, they're doing about $1 million a day in agriculture in Iberia Parish. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's huge. It's a big industry. And they got great people, and they do a lot of things, not only providing those tax dollars, but they're local. And they invest in that money local. A lot of the dollars that we get from oil and gas, these companies are not local. But when you're dealing with the farming industry, these are local people that's buying local and doing local things and giving back money. So I just felt I had to say that because that's something I say a whole lot.
Of course. And you mentioned the Port of Iberia. Of course, I love to say that if it's happening and it's good in oil and gas, it's happening at the Port of Iberia right now. A lot of connectivity, a lot of expansion. The Port of Iberia is currently seeking to expand its boundaries a bit. A lot of partnering with parish government, as you mentioned before, and the parish council on investing dollars to extend the gas line there, which are creating and retaining jobs. I know that parish government and the parish council have, from an economic development perspective, have worked with local businesses through incentives to help them expand across the parish and increase jobs. One of the I think gems in our community too, of course, is the UL Research Center.
Exactly.
We talk about diversification and working through. When you talk about New Iberia, when you say the words New Iberia in the research world, they know exactly who we are and exactly what we stand for. So a lot of great potential there as well.
And Crown Bio is doing big things there. I don't think people realize the type of research that's being done there. You're talking about research for cancer and research for Crohn's and the different pharmaceutical companies that we represent, like Pfizer and the others.
Absolutely. Crown Bio, just to back up a bit so that the community may remember, for many years at the Research Center, there are a number of nationally and international pharmaceutical companies that do research. They come in and lease out parts of the campus and what have you. But Crown Bio was the first biomedical and pharmaceutical company that we were able to, along with all of our partners, to recruit to actually permanently locate here in Iberia Parish. And so that's certainly a gem. Absolutely.
It's a big deal. Mike, I don't know when you're going to want to talk about Progress Point, if that's something you want to talk about now, or if it's something that you want to talk about later.
We can certainly do that.
But, Progress Point is going to be huge for the development of Iberia Parish when we finish doing the access road. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. On projects that we're planning on doing in the future. But Progress Point is going to be huge because if we get to do the airport the way we want to do it, and you have the research center right there, companies can actually start to build there. If we get the international cargo facility that we're trying to do, companies can build there, and they're going to be very, very close. And a lot of people may not understand the importance of, infrastructure in this parish. I mean, when we talk in infrastructure, we're not only talking roads, we're talking water, and we're talking sewer. And we're doing some of that since I've taken office. You're going to hear later that we are doing some water projects and sewer projects as well.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk in just a moment about the infrastructure a little bit more, get a little bit deeper into some of the infrastructure plans. But as you folks can tell, through a lot of our discussion tonight, we've been talking about planning, about the importance of good planning, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our planning and zoning department. That's and right. The new director that's recently been hired. Can you speak a little bit about the department?
Well, we're very fortunate that we were able to get the person that we have. And I'm sad to say that the planning and zoning director that we had, John Rahm, was very, very good. But he passed away. And when he passed away, we started to search for someone that we could hire with the amount of dollars that we have in Iberia Parish. We were able to get some very good applicants, and it took a while to hire that particular person. I mean, it probably took us, 3 months or whatever it took to do it, but we have a very, very good person. This particular person that we hired, her name is Sarah Geary, and she come from Lafayette Consolidated Government. She worked in zoning, she worked in planning, but planning is the ticket for me because planning, all of us is the ticket, but planning is something that we have to do in Iberia Parish to get us where we need to be. So by us getting a person in planning and zoning that understand planning, and we're starting to try to do bigger and better things in the parish, that person is starting to work with GIS. And we just hired a new person, if I can go into that right now, at the airport. And the person that we hired at the airport come with some unbelievable experience as well. Not only that particular person came here and she was running airports, she happened to work in planning. So now when we start to talk about putting a road somewhere and trying to do something, you're not just saying, stick it here. You have some planning involved in what's happening so it can start to make sense. So what we're doing now, Mike, is we're looking to work with the directors, all of our directors. We have a great staff. So we hired 2 good people, but we had many, many, many good people before. So it's a great team that we're building. But what we're doing now is we're working more with GIS. And we're going to start to bring more of your utility companies into what's taking place, your Entities and your Clecos and your Cox Communications. So when we start to do developments, we're going to have the necessary things that we need to develop. We're going to start to work more and more with water and sewer. Currently, what's taking place in Iberia Parish, we have a water board and we have a sewer board, or a sewer district. It's great, and it works very, very good, but when it comes to planning, it's not the best, because they don't communicate on a daily basis, understanding who's trying to do what. And some of the problems I have, and I know you have them as well, is when a customer come here and they love the location you have and say, do we have water? And you say, yeah, we have water. And you try not to, please don't ask me if we have sewage. You know, and then they say, well, do you have sewage? And we have, no, that's located on Darnell Road. You know, so we have to figure out how to work a little bit better together. And we're doing that.
Developers want shovel-ready sites.
They want shovel-ready sites.
Exactly. Many of those aspects are there, and I could certainly see that improving day by day.
Yes. And so the good thing about it, everyone that we have within our staff, no matter where it's at, whether it's the water department, the sewer department, planning, whatever, they all want to work together, so it's going well.
Well, we got about 15 minutes. I want to stay.
I went fast.
I want to stay true to the hour that we committed. Okay. For our viewers today, and of course for everyone watching tonight. Before we get into, I just want to go back to, I do want to talk a little bit about the communication theme that you've talked about just a little bit. Before we do that, I do want to go back to infrastructure plans in just a second. You know, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of good things that are happening, there's a lot of good people working behind it. We talked a little bit about public works, and we've talked about drainage and roads and bridges and that kind of thing. But when it comes to infrastructure, it's not just about making the plans, it's about actions too. That's right. And so infrastructure projects, the things where people start to see dirt fly and that kind of thing. Maybe you could tell us about some of the projects, the infrastructure projects that parish government has going on currently.
I sure will. But can I tell you some of the things that we've done? Just a few things so far, because I think it's very important. And we talked about the 150th year earlier. One of the things that I'm very proud of that we did is when we first got here, along with the parish council, we were able to get funds because we have the necessary funds in public buildings. And we were able to get the courthouse and actually work the courthouse. The courthouse, you know, it was leaking. You had water just dripping down the walls from the 4th floor to the 2nd floor, and everything was rotting. And what we got an opportunity to do is we changed all of the windows that was cracked and that was having all of these issues. We actually went out and we stopped all of the water leaks. We painted everything. We sealed everything. And when we finished that, or right when we was getting ready to finish that, we talked about the 2nd floor where our courtrooms are. So we went to the 2nd floor, Mike, and we did a complete remodel of the 2nd floor. It's not even the same type room at all. And the reason we're doing that is because we have to take pride in what we have. We have a great parish. Earlier you heard me talk about the culture, the things that we have. We just have to preserve some of the things that we have in Iberia Parish and make it
it's the people's house.
It's the people's house, exactly. So we did those things. We did the courthouse. We did the painting. We did the trimming. We did the sealing and all of this other good stuff. And one of the other things that we did, Mike, is I'd like to make the people aware that we created a new website, or updated the website we have to where it's really a new website. And the reason for that is because we needed a user-friendly website that people can actually go on and use that particular site and make it and we are making that site an informative site where people can actually go and see what's going on in Iberia Parish. So it's all about the resources, it's all about being user-friendly, and it's all about being informative where people can go and see exactly what we have there. You can see the parish council meetings, you can see the agendas that's taking place, you know.
Transparency and
government. And that's what I want transparency. You know, someone was asking me earlier today what we're going to be talking about, and I told them nothing that you never heard. And the reason I said that is because, you know, we have a radio show that takes place every week. I go on it as much as I can. We always have a council member or two there. I write every other week, I write a parish president's report, trying to make the people aware of what's going on. Another thing we did, I'm going to get to the closing, but if we go 5 minutes late,
no,
don't,
it's
don't
okay.
hurt me.
I do want to talk about some of the infrastructure plans we got going on when it comes to roundabouts and things. But go
Okay.
ahead.
But I have to say this because what I'm saying is important to some people, and the roundabout is important as well. But you know, we completed things like the Universal Parkway at the airport, which is huge for the companies that's in that particular area. We did water line extensions in Koto. We did water line extensions from Koto Road all the way to St. Martin Parish. And that's huge. Robert B. Greene Building is a building that we use, that veterans use. Today, in fact, we had a meeting with Public Works and the construction company that's going to actually do the work over there. And we're finally going to be able to start getting some dirt moving. So on Tuesday after next at the Robert B. Greene Building, Public Works is going there, and they're going to start to try to figure out the footing over there, what their footing was when they first built that building. You may not even know what I'm talking about, but that's a particular building that we're trying to restore. And we was having some foundation.
It's been a project long time coming.
It's been a project for quite some time. Another thing that we're doing right now is we're going to be going out for bids in about a month for the new Communications 911 building, the emergent preparedness building. That's big. That's going to be a state-of-the-art building. And when I say state-of-the-art building, I truly mean state-of-the-art building, because that particular building is going to do a lot of things for our Iberia Parish when we have disasters. The communication system that you've been hearing us talk about for a while is something that we need in the worst type of way, not only for a crisis, but for regular things that's taking place. You might have a function going on this week, gumbo cook-off, and someone get hurt or whatever the case is, and we need to say what's happening. But, you know, one of the things I identified, I guess, when we had the freeze not long ago in the Koto area, we had some water lines that actually was freezing and this, that, and the other, and it was a nightmare trying to communicate with the people in that area, making them understand what was going on. And so immediately I had to try to figure out what we're going to do. Of course, we don't have a lot of money, so how are you going to address this? What I'm telling you right now is that we're currently in the process of negotiating an agreement with a company that offers the communication platform that's going to give us the ability to quickly communicate with our constituents, our residents, and staff if we need staff, because I may need a staff member if we have an emergency going on to be here as well, and we can communicate with them. So that's a big deal. That's something that the council is going to be looking at in a little bit. One more thing, security at the courthouse. We have a lot of issues that many people don't understand or don't know of that's here. And security at the courthouse is unbelievable. The lack of security that we had. So I can say it now because it's there. So I was very concerned about talking about security while we were doing it. We have implemented some things within our security system, Mike, and in the next month and a half, you're going to see a major change at that particular courthouse. Future projects, that's what you're talking about.
Well, infrastructure plans, I've got some things down here I'd like to talk with you about. We talked when we were talking about the airport, for instance, we talked a bit about, you know, international air cargo and some of the future plans we'd like to make. You talked a bit about Progress Point and what have you. But tell us a little bit about some of the infrastructure projects. I see that on the slide we've got some roundabouts and that kind of thing. That seems to be...
That may be 675 roundabouts you're looking at right there. It is 675 roundabout.
And here's a shot of the phase one.
That's
of
right.
The airport access road.
What's going on with the 675 roundabout? We were fortunate enough to get, I think, $2.2 million from the K10 Planning Commission that we're going to use to do this particular project. This is going to be a project that the Department of Transportation is going to manage the whole project for us. I had a meeting with them today. They had some issues being the Department of Transportation, so this particular project I was hoping was going to be going out for bid early next year. It'll look like it won't be going out for bid early next year since I left you today. But it's guaranteed that it's going to happen. It's just that we submitted some paperwork to them, and the Department of Transportation have to do certain things that's going to take a little bit of time. And of course, you know, this particular project here is going to have some some lane issues that we're going to have to address. Now, moving from that particular project to another project that we're doing right next to it is the access road, what's called the 5-lane access road.
Back away.
The access road that you can actually see here is going to go from that roundabout to 3212. Well, the access road, we're moving forward with that. That should be about an $8.6 million project. All of the funding is there. We already purchased all of the right-of-ways. We purchased all of the land. I had a conversation with the speaker on Friday, and everything is looking great for that as far as the money that's coming from capital outlay.
Yeah, this is going to serve as a gateway to the airport.
Absolutely.
These roadways and roundabouts, I think it's important to let folks know they've been designed not just for vehicular traffic, but for the kind of industrial traffic that we'd like to see coming in and out. For instance, we've reached out to Bayreuth Transportation and to Halliburton to make sure that this roadway is something that can accommodate that kind of commerce. So what you see here is going to be a great gateway to our airport. It'll make it really easy and safe for business and commerce, business and commerce to come in and out from the airport area.
Exactly. And one thing I want the people to understand, Mike, when you and I are talking, they really need to know that we talk a lot. And they really need to know that the position that you have in economic development works hand in hand with Iberia Parish government. So when we're saying things, they might be like, man, Mike knows a lot what's going on. But Mike is a major part of what's taking place in Iberia Parish government. But at any rate, that access road that we're talking about is going to have a roundabout when they get to the end at 3212. And another project that we're going to do, and I'm going to tie all this up if I can, is the straightening of Highway 88. The straightening of Highway 88, for the people that know what I'm talking about, when you're coming down 88 going toward the airport from 90, you're passing in front of a church and a school, and you got to make another curve. So we're going to straighten that out. This is a 100% funded project from the federal government, 100% funded. And what's that going to, what was straightening that highway, what it's going to do is it's going to make STEM time. That's the second time I use the word STEM time, and people probably have no idea what I'm saying. But when I finish explaining this, I'll tell it to you in a little bit. It's going to make the STEM time a little bit quicker for big trucks to get to the airport. I got elected in January, I took office in January of 16, Mike and I, and the airport director went to Memphis in February. And we're trying to get some of your larger cargo companies to come into Iberia Parish, and what's hurting us right now is the amount of time it takes for them to get to the area where we're trying to put them at the airport because of the type of or lack of roads that we have. So this is going to be big for us.
So the 675 and Airport Access Road project and the Highway 88 straightening project is really going to be good because it's going to give us the kind of access to those assets that we need. The Airport Access Road, of course, is going to give us access to the airport, as the name implies. The straightening of 88 is not only going to help us with access to the airport, but it happens to connect the Ridge subdivision that you were talking about before. So these are great connectivity projects as we go through. The last one that I see here is the Lois Admiral Doyle.
The Lewis Street project is moving along good. We discussed that project today at our meeting as well. So what we're doing on Lewis Street is we basically we're going to have when you're coming down Admiral Doyle from Center Street and you're turning left onto to Lewis Street, we're going to have 2 lanes turning left right there. We're going to have 2 lanes when you're coming from Lewis Street. When you're coming down Lewis Street from the Port of Iberia, you're going to have 2 lanes. It's actually going straight across Admiral Doyle. So we're trying to ease the flow in that particular area. Right now we have different stores that's coming here, and you're going to have some traffic.
Rouse's and Hobby Lobby.
So you're going to have some traffic in that particular. You're going to have some traffic in that particular area, and we're hoping that this is actually going to help. We just finished about 2 weeks ago cleaning the channel a little bit farther down that area on Lewis Street. There's right past Kmart, there's a place called Myers Welding, and we just finished cleaning a channel that goes from Lewis Street all the way to Jefferson Terrace. and it takes a lot of water. So we're trying to get things in play. We're moving along. We're doing well.
So all of these infrastructure projects that we're talking about are connecting very important assets to the highway, helping get people to stores, new stores in New Iberia, to new neighborhoods in Iberia Parish and to K10 Regional Airport. There'll be a larger, and I know you mentioned it before, and as we transition toward our closing remarks, towards your closing remarks, I know that there's going to be an ongoing community conversation about how we move forward with even more projects. These are great projects to start. We know that obviously from the priority lists that have been put together and from a lot of the discussions that we're having on the economic development front, there are a lot of projects that we'd like to do. And so I look forward to those community conversations going forward about how we all move forward together in that respect.
Right.
So as we come up on the hour, and we're right at the top of the hour now, so we're right on time. Okay. I appreciate
Still
that.
Still could talk a little more if you want.
I know you could. I know you could. I'm just wondering if you have any remarks that you'd like to make in closing.
Well, you know,
maybe there's some things we didn't cover.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the Parish Council for working so close with the administration. I think it's very important that the people of Iberia Parish understand that this is not Larry's parish. This is Iberia Parish. And we work together. So when you hear me going to the Parish Council asking for something, I'm not trying to benefit me. I'm trying to benefit the parish. And a lot of times, you know, some people may see it this way or see it that way. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm asking for something. If I get it, we're going to move forward with it. If I don't get it, I'm going to go to something else. Whatever the Parish Council approves for me, that's how I run this business. In closing, Mike, what I simply would like to say is I want to thank you for sitting here, moderating with me. This one is done a little bit different today than we did the ones in the past.
I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope everyone has.
Well, it's just a conversation, and of course, it's a little bit different because in the past, of course, I stood up at the podium and looked at the slides and talked about the slides and had the staff do what they do. And we may more than likely go back and do that next year. That little thing keep going off, huh?
I don't know who set the alarm.
Okay, so in closing, if I can close, Mike, basically what I want to tell the people of Iberia Parish is we know where we started. We know where we're at. We know where we're going. And the only thing I want to say is that the state of Iberia Parish is great, and it's growing. And I hope I'm doing what you elected me to do, and that's all I can say.
Larry, I certainly have enjoyed this conversation. I know that I learned a lot, and I know that there's a lot more that we could talk about. We only, like you mentioned a number of times, we could have gone on and on and on.
Right.
So there's a lot of things happening across our parish. Our parish council is working very hard along with our administration to move those projects forward. Right. I would encourage folks to go and check out IberiaParishGovernment.com. To learn more about all the things that the parish is doing each and every day. Of course, you can always give, I'm not going to give out the number, but I know you can always call the parish president's office or your local parish council member to find out exactly what projects are about to happen in your area. I'm so happy to have been here tonight to share this with you. And so with that, I bid you all good night. Now, before we break, I just wanted to let you all know that the parish president and the department heads are going to, and I'm sure many of the parish council people are going to stay behind and be available for one-on-one consultations and to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again.
Thank you all.
Good night.